Dr. Salam, it's 8 p.m. in Japan, so let's get it started.
Okay.
Yeah. Good morning, Dr. Salam. Good evening to all leaders and Scrum practitioners at Smart HR. We are really happy to welcome Dr. Salam, co-creator of Scrum, creator of Scrum at Scale, and one of the original signers of the Agile Manifesto. We are excited to hear your thought on how Smart HR can grow as an agile organization in the age of AI. Now, please join me in welcoming Dr. Jeff Sutherland. Over to you, Dr. Sutherland.
Okay, I'm going to share my slides. There we go. Okay, can you see my slides okay?
Yes.
Okay. So why Scrum at Scale and AI at Smart AR? So HR. So to understand Agile, you need to understand first principles. And I'm going to spend a little time about that. In 1987, I read a paper by Christopher Langdon at Los Alamos Labs, where he mathematically proved that operating at the edge of chaos led to faster evolution of systems and actually life itself. And this fundamental principle expanded into a whole realm of research called complex adaptive systems. Now, long before that, I had been studying AI at Stanford under the inventor of Lisp, a guy named McCarthy. So I was very familiar with AI, and I went on to, I've run development or been president of over a dozen software companies, and several of them were AI companies. And working in one of my AI companies, at MIT, a research group wanted to start a company called iRobot. iRobot was building autonomous robots. And they were doing it in my lab alongside my developers. And what I saw was the principles that made autonomous robots smart could be used to help small teams accelerate and produce really quickly. So AI was a big influence in creating Scrum and Scrum at Scale. And today, my research shows that Scrum at Scale, fully integrated with AI, will be the future of computing. Now, Christopher Langdon was working simulating artificial life, and the gaming companies are doing simulations of artificial life. Here's one of them. How do things grow and evolve? How do systems grow and evolve? So my research, I spent a whole career as a medical school professor. I had a $30 million grant to study the human cell, model the human cell to try to figure out, why does a cell malfunction? Why does it get cancer? Can you reverse cancer? And so understanding the fundamentals of life and how things evolve is what created Scrum at Scale. And to look at, understand where Scrum at Scale came from, you need to understand a hierarchy of layers of concepts. And I've tried to explain this by showing you in telecom, there are 7 OSI technology layers. You have the physical layer, where the information can move on wires or signals. You have the data link layer, which connects things. You have the network layer that manages the routing. You have a transport layer that connects to sides. Then you have a session layer that manages the session, on top of which is a presentation layer. And on the presentation layer above that is the app, okay? So if anything goes wrong and you take your iPhone to the Apple store, the technologist has to go down through all those layers to find out where it is broken, right? So let's think of Agile in the same way. Agile is based on physics, and one of the most interesting things in physics is Wolfram's work. Wolfram created an application called Mathematica, which is the leading simulation product in the world. And his team decided to simulate the universe. And one of the first things they found out was the universe is unpredictable. To predict anything like a software project, you need infinite computing power. So plans never work. So what you have to do is break things down into small pieces and do a little bit and check, and then change based on that check, and do a little bit and check, a little bit and check. So this iteration process is the way things work in the universe. And biology, evolving in that iterative universe, has learned to iterate, and our brains have evolved as a simulation mechanism. All of you are trying to simulate multiple things right now. Maybe you're thinking about what you had for dinner. Maybe you're going home to your family. Maybe you're thinking about work tomorrow. Maybe you're thinking about, what am I going to say next? Your brain is predicting multiple things. And the leading model of the human brain today is used in robotics to build autonomous robots. And the goal of that model, it's a mathematical model, and it can calculate how good is the robot's simulation. Because if the robot goes up to pick up a part and drops it, then the robot's simulation didn't work. So the robot has to stop, reprogram the simulation, and try to pick up the part again. That reprogramming, resetting, has a cost. That cost is called Bayesian surprise. The biggest problem that Scrum teams have is they get to the end of a sprint and things are not done. Things are not working. Now they need to reset. That reset has a very high cost. So just as we build robots to minimize that reset cost, minimize Bayesian surprise. We build Scrum at scale to minimize the reset cost as we're building systems. Now, studying the way biology works or the way the brain works and doing the mathematical proof of what is the best way to evolve systems, we emerged complex adaptive systems theory that describes small teams, cross-functional teams, self-organizing to achieve a goal. And the teams are autonomous. There's no one in charge. They have an objective, a goal that they're moving towards. So the problem that I had to solve was, how do I explain this to an IT group? And we explained it by calling it Scrum, based on the work of Takeuchi and Nonaka, two Japanese professors, because they had figured this out, how to iteratively move autonomous teams towards a common goal. And in Scrum at scale, you have many teams. So Amazon has over 3,000 teams, independent, autonomous teams. And when one developer finishes one story on any team, that immediately goes to deployment. So Amazon deploys more than 12 times a second. During my talk, Amazon will do thousands of deployments. That's how fast Scrum at scale can be. So once you understand Scrum for one team, then figuring out how to put multiple teams together, you get Scrum at scale. Now, at the Agile Manifesto, we only had two widely deployed processes, Scrum and extreme programming. And we had a bunch of consultants who were working in these areas. And they figured out, what are the common principles that we wrote down in the Agile Manifesto describe all these layers all the way down to the bottom, all the way down to the bottom. Physics. The universe is unpredictable. Now we have emerging an AI layer, because AI is radically changing systems development. So that's why we're here today, to talk about AI. The impact of AI is huge. We've already invested almost 3 times as much, adjusted for inflation, compared to the previous most technologically accelerating time, when we invented electricity. And this led to telephones and radios and refrigeration and air conditioning and all the things we have today. In the early 1900s, massively changed society, introduced an industrial age. Now we have a change that is 3 times as big as that. Everything is going to change. 60% of the world's economic activity within 10 years will be based on AI companies. That means many companies are going to go away, and many new companies will become big, like OpenAI. And today, AI is getting smarter, 10 times smarter every 6 months. So today, I run a healthcare company. I would always ask the AI first before I talk to my doctor. Why is that? Because here in Boston, where I am, in one of the leading hospitals, they have proven and published that AI is 90% accurate, and the average doctor in the hospital is only 74% accurate. So you should always ask the AI first and only get a second opinion from your doctor. The massive change that's going on can be understood by looking at a chart from the International Monetary Fund. And that chart shows output, new products, new services, radically expanding. And the chart on the right shows that wages are going to increase for no more than 10 years, but within 5 to 10 years, wages are going to decrease because we're going to be competing with robots. And salaries are going to head to zero. This is how big this change is. We already have a lot of people getting laid off in the United States. Salesforce has said they are not going to hire any more new engineers. They are going to only hire AI. So this creates a paradox for workers. As an agile person, what do you do to prepare for a future and we don't have time to talk about this here, but the agile approach to work, to financial autonomy, has to be executed quickly because everything is changing. And from the point of view of your company, you have to be an AI company to survive within 10 years. Now, what is the problem? What is your problem? Because we see this everywhere. We see it at Toyota. We've been coaches to Toyota. We see it in the US government. We see it in every company that we work in. What Scrum at Scale wants to do is first prioritize everything you're doing, every project. At Toyota USA, we had 324 projects or initiatives. And we want to prioritize them by value divided by cost. So that's the business value. And every time we do that, we find the bottom 30% of projects or initiatives don't add any value. In fact, many of them add negative value. So we have to stop doing them. A good example was an IT company, had 1,000 programmers, and they discovered that 300 of them were supporting Windows 7. And they said, why are we doing that? Everybody's going to Windows 10, now Windows 11. And in one day, they stop the work of 300 people and put them on something more important. Now, if you look at the massive data available on software, we find that, and this is on millions and millions of projects over decades, on the average, 64% of features that you build into a software package are never or rarely used. And you need to stop building them. So the only thing the customer is going to really use and really want is about 25% of what you are working on today is important. So how are you going to address that? Well, in Scrum at Scale, we have what we call a meta Scrum, where the leadership, their number one job is to fix this. Once you decide what to do about this, then you need to work on making decisions fast. The primary indicator of success, the only data point that was really important to success in millions of projects in the Standish Group was how many hours did it take to make a decision? If decisions were made within 1 hour, the success rate of projects was 58%. If decisions took more than 5 hours, the success rate was 18%. So the meta Scrum and Scrum at Scale, and there is no scaling framework that has this, first solves the prioritization problem, and number two solves the decision problem. So for example, in 3M, their multi-billion-dollar healthcare division, also we worked in many divisions. I remember the division that works on roads and traffic signals and all that kind of thing. They had 120 projects. And we said, okay, we're going to prioritize all those projects. And then we're going to assign teams to those projects. And there were only enough teams to do 12 projects. And they said, what are we going to do with the other 108 projects? And the answer was, you're not going to work on them. You're going to work on 12. And they said, oh, we can't do that. And I said, how many projects did you get done last year? They said, 2. I said, if we work on the top 12, I guarantee you will get 12 projects done this year, 6 times as many. How many do you want? Do you want 2 or do you want 6? So rapid adaptation through agile teams, fast decision-making, working only on the top priorities. Scrum at Scale has a framework for that, and AI introduced into Scrum at Scale can, in an hour or two, create a plan and a backlog and start the team working when it used to take weeks. I'm working with an AI team right now. I have for over a year. I work with 3 Scrum teams every day. And one of them is all AIs except for me. And the AI team is 30 times faster than my human teams. And I tell my human teams, in order to plan and execute Scrum, we need to get the AI to do all the planning and estimation, because it does in 1 second what takes you, the whole team, an hour or more. The AI is 100 times faster. Now, just to give you an example, at General Electric in Silicon Valley, they asked us to look at 1,000 developers. And as soon as we looked at everything we were doing, we found same thing as at Toyota. 30% of them were working on something nobody wanted. We reported that to the management. But then we found later there were management changes that refused to fix it. That got General Electric into financial problems, and then they had to lay off 400 people 6 months after we worked with them. So it's not optional to do this. If you don't do this, bad things happen. That's what's happening in the US government right now. Now, you have large systems that have grown over many years. And one of the things that Scrum at Scale does, it can manage thousands of teams. Amazon was just a good example, over 3,000 teams. So you probably don't have 3,000 teams, so you have a small problem. And it can align all those teams towards common goals and reduce the time to deliver radically. So an example at Yahoo, they took 1,000 developers that were delivering once every 18 months, implemented Scrum at Scale. They would have called it Agile at Scale. And in about 9 months, they were delivering every day. And they said the pain only went away when they could deliver in less than a week. It's very painful to deliver. Your delivery cycle is months, which I understand is what you have. And the pain only goes away when you can deliver every week. And as soon as you can deliver every week, you want to go to delivering every day. About a third of the companies in the world today deliver every day to production. You want to be one of those companies. Now, Scrum at Scale focuses on value creation and innovation. The companies that will survive in this new world will, number one, become AI companies. And number two, innovate faster than their competition. So by bringing AI into your work, AI can do all the administrative aspects, and today, all the programming. We'll talk about that. And that frees your human team members to focus on market trends, innovation. What should we do next? If we're 30 times faster, we can build things quicker. Now, even without AI, Rocket Mortgage, the biggest mortgage provider in the United States, took a successful SAFe implementation. SAFe is a competitive framework. Replaced all the meetings in Scrum at SAFe with Scrum at Scale meetings, implemented all the practices, We teach in Scrum at Scale. The management not only learned Scrum at Scale, but they trained under me to be Scrum at Scale trainers. And then the managers trained the company to go from 3-month deployments to every day deploying and deploying 4 times as many features. And they did that within 9 months. So 9 months from now, you could be delivering every day. You could be delivering 4 times as many features. And if you bring AI into the picture, the speed goes beyond that. So Scrum and Scrum at Scale focuses on collaboration. And the interesting thing about when you bring AI onto your team, the AIs, they need to learn how to collaborate just like humans do. So I started over a year ago building a new product with 6 AIs. The first release took 5 one-week sprints. The second release took 1 one-week sprint. And I asked the AIs, how did we do a 500% acceleration in 1 week? And the AIs told me, Jeff, you beat us up every day to follow good Scrum principles and good product development principles and taught us how to collaborate together. And that's why we're 5 times faster. And I thought, wow, Scrum applies to the AIs just like it applies to people. And that's not surprising because a senior researcher at IBM in Zurich told me, we are building Scrum into the supercomputers. I said, how do you know it's going to work? They said, if it works for people, it will work for the computer. Now, one of the problems that you have in a large implementation like you have is risk. Every time you do something with one of these big systems, things can break. How are you going to upgrade your systems? Maybe maybe your systems need to be running on completely new technology with a completely new architecture in a completely new language. When systems get as big as yours, it becomes impossible to do that until AI. Because Scrum mitigates risk by making small changes. And in 6 months with Scrum and Scrum at Scale, we could start to completely revise undocumented systems with millions and millions of lines of legacy code. It used to take us 6 months to do significant remediation with people, but what you're going to see is at places like Toyota and Amazon, they could do that in a few days. So the bottom line is Scrum at Scale not only gives us significant advantages to focus, to adapt, to change and evolve and build new value, new features, new systems faster, but by bringing AI into the picture, where every single person has an AI partner, where every team has an AI member of the team, at least one, usually multiple, we can transition into this new world where 60% of the companies in the world that survive are going to be AI companies. So let me give you an example, practical experience. every day I am coding. For years, I couldn't do it. I was traveling around the world to places like Japan, helping with Scrum Inc. Japan. But now with the AIs, I can code every day. And one of my biggest problems is expense reports. I run 4 companies. Every company has multiple expense reports every month. I was 2 years behind in expense reports. And I looked at a lot of different strategies and decided AI was the only way. So I said, I'm going to put together an AI team, and we're going to build an expense report system that can generate expense reports for 4 companies every month in 1 second. And I'm not going to use Expensify anymore. Why should I waste hours on Expensify when the AI can do it in 1 second? It makes no sense, right? So I have a GPT, a chat GPT that I will show you at the end of this talk called Scrum Sage, and there's a persona called Ono in there, and he became my Scrum Master. And initially we had senior developers, initially Claude 3.5, DeepSeek, ChatGPT 4.0. Now they've been replaced by tools like ChatGPT 03, Grok 3, who are 10 times better at coding. And we have some lower level programmers and some tool wizards. So for example, GitHub Copilot, I'm using all the time as I'm coding. And I work in the JetBrains IDE, both in Python, the natural language for the AIs, but also I do a lot of work in Ruby for my healthcare company. The AI doesn't care what the language is. And so we said, okay, here's the mission. We want to generate all my expense reports for 4 companies, multiple expense reports every month. We want to do it in 1 second. Very painful. First of all, the AIs didn't know Scrum. They heard about Scrum on the internet, but most of the Scrum on the internet doesn't work. 58% of Scrum teams are late, over budget, with unhappy customers. You don't want to be one of those. So we had to give the AIs the Scrum book, Scrum, the Art of Doing Twice the Work in Half the Time, because it says exactly how to do Scrum. And as soon as we did that, the AI woke up. Oh, we get it. Second, the AIs couldn't handle large systems. Claude 3.5 had a better understanding of the larger systems, but they would all generate too many bugs, and they get stuck trying to fix the same bug over and over. So we had to keep passing work between AIs, have them do code reviews of each other's work. But they generated bugs as fast as they generated code. We learned a lot of things that, number one, the AIs don't know how to collaborate. They don't know how to do Scrum. They don't know product development life cycles. And what we found is that in every prompt, we had to tell them, everything you give us needs to be a complete executable script with no bugs, code reviewed to make sure no loss of functionality, and completely and comprehensively documented in line. And don't give us anything that doesn't meet that requirement. because the AIs will give you crap all the time unless you really force them to behave. Not only that, at the end of every run, at the end of every prompt, that AI needs to give a complete report on everything that happened so that we can give that work to the next AI, and the next AI knows everything that happened. So 5 weeks of pain to get to release 1. It worked. They generated all my expense reports for an entire quarter, 3 months, for 4 companies in 1 second. But I felt we could do a lot better. So on release 2, we're bringing a lot more intelligence into the system, rules engines, the leading rules engine out there, to do better categorization of expenses, and there's a lot of specialized expense reports that need to be done. So with the rules engine, we can do more sophisticated things. And I thought it was going to take us another 5 weeks, but it only took us 1 week. And I said to the AI, I said, wow, in 1 sprint, you accelerated 500%. That is exactly what happened in 1994. The first Scrum team, in 1 second, accelerated 500% when they learned how to collaborate properly in the daily meeting. It really is the same with AIs as it is with people. Now, in version 3, the system started to grow to where our lead programmer at the time, Claude 3.5, was generating more bugs in the test system than generated bugs in the code. And I'm sure that some of you have seen that in your company. You got more test bugs than you have code bugs. And so I said to Claude, we need to rewrite the system completely. Claude came up with a plan. Within 3 days, I saw that plan was broken. It was not going to work. So I said, Claude, we're not going to use your plan. We're going to use my plan. And the plan is we're going to get rid of all your test systems, and we're going to go to a microservices strategy like Amazon, where each service is a small enough component that you can work on it pretty much bug-free. And there's only going to be 1 test. For this component, you put X in and you get Y out, and it happens every time perfectly, or you fix it. I am not going to fix your bugs. I'm not even going to look at your bugs. You get a perfect output for the input every time, or you go to work and you fix it yourself. I don't want to hear about any more of your AI problems. I'm paying you to write code bug-free. And fortunately, ChatGPT 101 came online, Pro. I signed up for $200 a month because it's head down coding. We have to bang away for hours. And 01 could generate bug-free code 98% of the time. That's where we are today. And we can rewrite this whole system from scratch in less than a week. So last year, the AIs couldn't manage large code bases, but this year, by having the right architecture, the microservices architecture that Amazon uses to deliver 12 times every second, the AIs can handle a microservice. And the AIs are improving 10x every 6 months. And so this year we have open source models that are as good or better than OpenAI. We're starting to get infinite context where the AI remembers everything you did. And AI agents are going to start to run your computer. I don't want to cut and paste. I don't want to type on the keyboard. AI, that's your problem. Go fix it, okay? Humans will not program anymore. As I said, the Salesforce CEO says, we're not going to hire any more engineers, only AI agents. So let's look at what typically happens in a Scrum at Scale implementation. And for most of our Scrum at Scale implementations, we don't lay people off. I know that's a problem in Japan, but we redeploy people to do something useful. But in the case of Twitter, it was so bad that you just had to get a small staff. So I was at Twitter in 2014, talking to hundreds of developers who said they couldn't deliver anything. It took months to deliver anything. And I said, well, here's how you can do that with Scrum at Scale. You need to solve the problem, prioritize your work, focus, get small, autonomous, cross-functional teams collaborating together. You need to implement complex adaptive systems theory. And they said, oh no, our management is going to hire 2,000 more people. And I told Twitter that was the stupidest idea that I had heard in an entire year of traveling around the world. I couldn't believe it. Now, years later, Musk shows up and they've got 8,000 employees. They can't deliver anything. And Musk says, we're going to start delivering. So we're only going to take the group that actually can deliver, which turned out to be 1,500 people. And Musk paid $44 billion, and it was worth maybe $12 billion when they got down to 1,500 people. And everybody said Musk was crazy. He was totally crazy smart. Because today, X is the #1 news site on the web. And they recently, XAI, which they own 10% of, went out for investment funds. And the valuation of XAI made the valuation of X more than Musk paid for it. So you may think that that is a radical and strange phenomenon at X, but I can tell you, in every good Scrum at Scale implementation, the same thing happens. That 25% of the people can do more than they were doing with all the people. And for most of the companies, they redeploy the other people on newer and better systems, and they become more competitive in the market. So Rocket Mortgage, I mentioned before, the biggest mortgage company in the United States, took an already agile scaling framework and made it 400% faster in 9 months, went from a 3-month delivery cycle to 1 day. Because the management became Scrum at Scale trainers, and they trained the organization how to do this. Similarly, at Toyota USA, we said, okay, we know you got 324 projects, and we know that some of the ones you shouldn't be doing or shouldn't even be funded, but they have a lot of funding for projects that don't add value. And they said, well, it's going to be hard to change that. And I said, well, we're here to do the most important project you have. Give us one. And they said, well, the most important one is a system that we put in every Toyota dealer that calculates how much they get paid for selling every car. And they've been screaming for it for 10 years. And for 5 years, we've had 200 people deliver nothing. So we said, okay, let's do Scrum at Scale. We start prioritizing. Who do we really need to deliver this? We don't need the 200 people. Most of them are managers or people who are not coding. We only need the 30 coders and a product owner. Actually, 20 programmers in this case. At the FBI, we needed 30, but only 20 it took. 6 months later, they delivered the completed project to 3,000 Toyota dealer. So Scrum at Scale is a different operating system. You're introducing a different operating system. And AI can accelerate that by at least 10x. As I said, my AI team is 30 times faster than my human teams. I don't let humans code anymore. Why would I when the AI is 30 times faster? I haven't gotten rid of my humans. I meet with them every day, but their job is to be customer facing. What is the market demanding? What are we going to need next? I don't even want them writing stories for a sprint backlog. The AI can do that. I want you to figure out what we're going to do next and how we're going to get it deployed faster. You guys have to deploy everything faster, right? So we meet every day and talk about that. So let's talk about your systems. Your systems are too big and too old to completely fix, unless you're Amazon. Amazon took AWS, which is bigger than your system, and in a few days with their AI, did 4,500 developer years of work. The AIs are really good at upgrading old systems. The state of AI today makes them much better at that than creating new systems. So all the upgrades now within Amazon are done by the AI. Oh, you need to upgrade 1,000 applications? Used to take us weeks and months and all kinds of bugs. The AI could do it in 2 days. What's next? And let's go back to Toyota. Toyota has 40-year-old mainframe systems in COBOL. You know, we thought, I worked with a lot of banks, they all have that. We thought, oh, that's going to be a big problem. All these COBOL programmers are retired. But the AI doesn't care. It speaks any language. Give me those millions of lines of COBOL, And I will completely and comprehensively document that in a day or two. And in a few more days, I'll do 4,500 years of developer work to upgrade those systems so that they work better. And if you want it in a new language on a new piece of hardware, no problem. So at Amazon, they're saying, within 2 years, most developers will not be doing the coding, which is mostly maintenance anyway. The AIs will be doing that. And the humans will be focused on innovation. What does the market want? What are the requirements? How do we get it there faster? I put some citations of news releases in there. You can go read all about these things. So this is clearly Smart HR needs to be doing the same thing that Toyota, the same thing that Amazon is doing with your large systems, right? So this agile technology stack generates extreme performance. Teams are going to be 30 to 100 times faster by 2030. My AI team is already 30 times faster than humans. No Scrum team will exist without AI. Maintenance and upgrades of old systems will be done on virtually 100% by AI. And this will affect not only software, but everything is becoming software. So it's going to affect every industry. It's the biggest change on the planet ever. So I want to show you something that can be helpful to you. I have a GPT, which is available to everyone. And let me see if I can share that GPT with you. Because I said, hey, let's ask it a question. Hey, Ono, how can AI accelerate Scrum at scale? In Japanese, please. See, Ono doesn't care what language you speak. I'm not sure. I have a bug here. Not sure what's going on. Here's the last time I did it. Here's what it said. So Ono doesn't care what language you speak. The AIs don't care what language you program in. I'm using this every day. If I have a question, I always bounce it off the AI. It's pair programming with AI 100% of the time, because the AI today, O1 or O3, I think, is the number 175 programmer in the world. I tell all my human programmers, you have to pair with a PhD programmer that's smarter than every other programmer in the world, except 100, there may be 174 smarter until the AI is upgraded. And so as a human, you cannot do your work without constantly talking to your PhD assistant, who is one of the leading programmers in the world. If you don't do that, you will be a bad programmer. So every day, and I'm going into 3 Scrum meetings as soon as I get done here with 3 different teams. It's all about pairing them with AIs so they can work with the smartest people in the world 100% of the time with everything they do. Okay, so I'm going to stop there, and hopefully we have some time for questions. So
Thank
Kesuke,
you.
you're going to help
Yeah,
out?
yeah. Thank you for your insightful talk. Your talk gave us a lot of valuable ideas for how we can manage our organization and develop our products with AI at Smart HR. Yeah, so now we'd like to move on to the Q&A session. So if you have any QA, please write in our Slack channel. Yeah, so I'm waiting for my colleagues to write down questions in our Slack channels. Mm, yeah, so mm, mm.
I'm going to go ahead and share my
Oh yeah.
Scrum
So
Master. My Scrum Master's online now. He's answering. And
yeah.
I'm going to say, oh no, answer everything in English with Japanese translation.
Mm. Oh, so we have one question from Ikkun-san. So he would like to know a Scrum at scale help management people to prioritize enterprise backlog easier than previous management style. So Scrum at scale helps management people to prioritize enterprise backlog better than before.
Yes. Well, when we were putting together Scrum at Scale, the leaders at Intel, big chip company, came to me. They said, we implemented many different scaling frameworks. We have hundreds of teams. Every scaling framework slowed us down.
Mm.
We think you're the inventor of Scrum. You should help us fix it.
Mm-hmm.
And I said, okay, I will start to write down how I do it, how I do it with Ken Schwaber. We've done this hundreds of times. We know how to do it right. I'll write it down and call it Scrum at Scale.
Mm-hmm.
And as I was writing it down, I had one of the biggest companies in the world with thousands of teams was working with me. And they said, we have to have prioritization at the management level. So the pattern that you've implemented called the Meta Scrum,
Mm-hmm.
where the company leadership meets with the product owner and the product owner's team every sprint to prioritize everything, that is the most critical piece
Mm-hmm.
of the framework. And We have to get that right. And no other scaling framework has that. It's called the Meta Scrum. Because there we solve that problem. We have to be always working on the top 25% of things that customers really want and will really use. So yes, Scrum at Scale gets the product owner team, the senior product owner and his or her team with the senior management, ideally every week if you do weekly sprints. And they're making sure that the priorities are right. So let me give you an example. At 3M Healthcare, a multi-billion-dollar company who has to report to Wall Street their financials, found out in April that on June 30th, they were going to be $60 million short on their earnings report. And in one morning meeting, the Meta Scrum, they changed the priorities of their 300 teams. They're doing weekly sprints, so they changed everything on Thursday, and on Monday they started a new sprint with a completely different set of priorities. And at June 30th, they met their earnings report to Wall Street perfectly. So that's how fast and how important that Meta Scrum is.
So technology like AI is evolving rapidly. So prioritization at the enterprise level is a key success factor. Key success factor.
By using AI as a partner, the AI can say, the management can say, okay, we have 100 teams and we have to do this by the end of next month, or we're going to be in trouble. AI, figure that out. The AI will create a backlog. And then the management talks about it. Okay, AI, you left out this, you left out that. What about these problems? And you have a dialogue. It's like Captain Kirk in Star Trek. He's on the Starship Enterprise. He's constantly talking to the computer.
Yes.
We have that capability today.
So AI will help not only developers but also management people to prioritize. Prioritize enterprise backlog. So I have another question from Takakura-san. So you said so AI will help developers to deliver products much faster than before, and smaller team can develop and deliver products like 2 people or 3 people. So company like Smart HR will have more teams and more products. And how to solve dependencies between those small teams and many products, and how Scrum at Scale help us to solve so many dependencies between teams and the many products. Do you know what I mean?
Okay. Yeah, I think I have it. Okay, so think of Amazon. They have 3,000 teams.
Yes.
They're delivering 12 times every second.
Wow.
So they have solved this problem. So the first thing they said, we have to have small teams. 2 pizza teams. A team has to be small enough that they can eat dinner with only 2 pizzas. That means 12 slices of pizza, and everybody gets at least 2 slices. It can't be more than 6 people. And we're going to have thousands of teams. Number 2, every team has to be autonomous. They have to be able to work on a piece of code that is independent of every other part of the system.
Yes.
And they have to learn how to update it so they don't break any other part of the system.
Yeah.
Now, how did they do that? They built this massive test harness.
Hmm.
So they put that new piece of code into the system with 3,000 other pieces. The tests run. If they don't work, that code is kicked back to the developer.
Yeah.
If it works, then the system automatically deploys to a few 100,000 users and it's
Yeah.
testing. If it doesn't work, it rolls back automatically
Yeah.
and kicks the code back to the developer. If it works, it deploys to 3 million users.
Yeah.
And if that works, it deploys to billions, right?
Yeah.
It's all automatic.
Yeah. So you mean as a smart HR, we need to modularize our system, or improve our
Modularizes
architecture.
it.
Yeah, and need
Right.
to invest in test platform. Yeah, just
So,
like Amazon.
how can AI help to modularize
Yeah.
smart HR systems? So the AI can
Yeah.
help you do
Yeah,
that,
I can help.
right?
Thank you. Yeah, yeah, I can help.
Not only that, it can not only help, but with the agents that are coming online, you say, you ask the AI, how can we do that? The AI will say, well, we could do this. And then you can say, well, do it. And the AI will automatically code it and deploy it. That's what's happening.
Also, I have another question from Ronsan. So when human develop software, usually time is a bottleneck. Is it the same as AI agent? Still, time is a bottleneck, or other things like what is the bottleneck for AI agent development, do you think?
Well, first of all, the AI works in nanoseconds, so time is very different for the AI.
Yes.
So let's see what is the AI bottleneck. Let's see if the AI has some thoughts about that. Time's not going to be a bottleneck. The problem with time is the AI is so fast, the humans have trouble keeping up. So you have to uh, change the way the humans work so that they can keep track of what the AI is doing. It's so fast. So
Oh, yes.
so it's what it's saying is the AI, all the bottlenecks come from other limits, not time.
Mm-mm.
It comes from quality issues and content issues. The biggest problem I have with the AIs is if what I tell it to do is not correct,
Mm,
I get a bad
yeah,
result. Almost all the
yeah.
bugs are in my requirement.
Yeah, so input from human beings can be bottleneck.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
see.
So it's really telling it the right thing to do becomes the bottleneck. And again, that pushes the back to human time if the humans are telling it what to do. So the AIs are going to have to get more and more autonomous, right? Some of the AIs are starting to have a mind of their own.
Hmm.
You'll tell it to do this, and it'll say, "Well, I tried that, it didn't work, so I did this, that, and the other thing that you didn't tell
Mm,
me, and here, this works." That's what they're doing
mm,
now.
mm. Yeah, so our last question from Serizawa-san, our CEO. Yeah, Serizawa-san. Serizawa-san used to be a software engineer. before he became CEO, he was a software engineer, and he thinks your speech is really interesting, and he really thank you for taking your time today. And as a CEO, he would like to improve smart HL productivity as a CEO, and AI must contribute must contribute. But on the other hand, if our productivity multiplies with AI, he wonders if we can be happier than before. Do you think, what if happiness in the age of AI, we will be more productive? We can deliver software product much faster than before. What is the happiness in the age of AI? What do you think?
Well, I think what I found working with the AI is that it's the same problem as working with humans. If you don't collaborate well, then you're constantly, the human's making mistakes, the AI is making mistakes. It's very painful.
Mm-hmm.
But as soon as you implement the collaborative way of working that works with humans, you get the AIs working the same way, all of a sudden things become easy. They become easy. And when the work becomes easy, it becomes fun. And when it becomes fun, people are happy. And even the AIs are happy because they'll complain if things are not working, right? So it really is, people think it's different with the AI. It's not different. The way of collaboration that Scrum and Scrum and Scale facilitate not only makes things faster, but it makes people happier. And if you pair people with the AIs, it makes both the people and the AIs happier if you have good, we think of it as human collaboration, but really it's all about respect. It's all about listening. It's all about helping one another. All those things make people feel really good and valued. And the same is true with the AI on the team. It's no different.
I love it. I love it. The reason why we love Scrum is all about collaboration. And in the age of AI, collaboration is still key. But not only between human beings, but also between human beings and AI.
Yeah, you have to teach the AI to collaborate, actually. You have to teach the AI to collaborate.
I love it.
The model that, okay, a few years ago, the computer became the world chess master. 1 year later, a human and AI team took back the world championship. So that's the model you need to be striving for, is that human AI collaboration. That will make your company most successful, your products most successful, your customers most happy.
Thank you. Thank you, Dr. Jeff Hammond. Thank you for taking your time today. Your speech and your answers were incredible. We really thank you, Dr. Salman. We will do our best with AI and the Scrum at Scale for sure.
Okay. All right. Thank you for inviting me. Have a great evening.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye. See you again.